All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Excited to be on here with you today. Schlegs, we got a big show. As always on Tuesdays, we're welcomed by Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Excited to have him come on here in the next segment. Man, we got college football, Schlegs, playoff in 3 days. We got games tonight. We got games every night. But Notre Dame, Indiana is going to be Friday night. It is Tuesday. We were cruising along. It's a big Tuesday for the Buckeyes and their practice, trying to get this thing moving in the right direction. And get everything situated the way it needs to be. You know, the problem is right now, Schlegs, like this, and James Franklin alluded to this, and just because James Franklin struggles to win big games doesn't mean that he's necessarily wrong. But one of the issues that they ultimately have is you've got, the CFP right now. You just had high school signing day, the early signing period. And then you've got the transfer portal, and the confluence of these events as you're trying to figure this out is ridiculous. And we're seeing players have to opt out and do different things. And so different people are weighing in on this. There's been obviously some guys from Ohio State hit the transfer portal. We've talked about Devin Brown, who's hitting the transfer portal, but despite the fact that he's going to be in the portal, he's still going to stay on Ohio State and finish his obligations to the team as he is the backup quarterback currently. And, I mean, he must believe that he's the next guy up should something happen, given his desire to stay. But with that, we do have another quarterback entering the college football playoff.
Hey, let me ask you this question real fast, Bob. Because he stays and he's leaving, why wouldn't Julian stay and get those reps? I'm just asking.
Well, who do you feel is more prepared to win you a game?
Well, I know. So again, does it feel
so like here's the thing.
These are meaningful reps.
Are you trying to prepare and win for next year? Or are you saying who is the best player to come in should something happen to your starter at this point in time during a bowl game? And maybe if Will Howard got hurt and was going to be done for the entirety of it, I would say that's a different conversation than a guy coming in mid-game. But they feel, I think, if Devin Brown, they proved it against Michigan, he's the guy that's going to be first off the bench should something happen to Will. Now, maybe if they got hurt, Devin would finish the game and you could prepare Julian throughout the week to play. But in a mid-game situation, I think it's quite obvious right now it's Devin Brown. So you're preparing not for next year, but for this year.
I just wanted you to answer that question because I had other people I just saw, like, why are they not giving it? This is different, man. This is not, hey, we're going to the Cotton Bowl last year. We're in the college football playoff. And I think sometimes, Bob, people are lost and confused. Confusion and delay, Sir Topham Hatt style. And I say this, I don't understand, and I'm going to say regular people. I don't understand regular people in the mindset that if something happens negatively to you, that you can't get your shit off the ground and go pursue something else and forget just what transpired. Didn't mean not learn from it, but it means what's the next hurdle ahead? Let's go attack that. For some reason, some people in Ohio State, on your media, on your radio station, like, just we got to be so enamored about the game fucking matters. You probably need to edit that. It does matter, but it happened. Move on to the next freaking game. Next freaking game is Tennessee. That's the point. So if you're a head football coach and you believe that Devin Brown is the backup, he wants to stay to finish the journey, then he's the one that's going to get the reps. You'll prepare Julian, boom, next spring. And also, don't feel like they need to wallow in the Michigan game. And their name is effing Michigan, okay? That's just my 2 cents. Don't wallow in that. You have an opportunity to win your last game at home and to go on the greatest run in college football by beating really good football teams to be the first ever college football playoff extended bracket 12 team, just like you did 10 years ago in the first one. That's the mission at hand. Stop talking about it, just be about it. I'm talking to the fans, regular people. I would love to know how in the hell you go through life and you're just like, man, look at this. I can't believe this happened to me. I can't believe that happened to me. You're just a negative Nick and a negative Nancy all the time. You know what they call that? Energy vampires. You just suck the juice out of everybody else. That's what you do. I feel sorry for you. I feel pity for you. All right, next, Aaron Nolan. Here we go.
No, this is good.
And I'm not being mean. I think sometimes we need to have a self-introspection look at us. Like, why do we put that stuff out there? Is it just our feelings and we want to share it with people? I don't understand. That's probably why you guys are where you are, and we do what we do. I don't know.
Well, no, there's some truth to that, Schlegel. Now, you have to understand your upbringing, the way you were raised, the fact that you went to the prep school, the Air Force Academy, one of the most difficult institutions you're going to find in the United States, and then played football at Ohio State, played in the NFL briefly. Like, you've done a lot of things in your life, went on to be a strength coach, started a company. And so there's different levels of resolve for different people. And some people choose to maybe wallow in the badness a little bit and wallow in those tough times and complain about things. And Schlegel, the BDCs, blame, complain, and
defend.
Yeah, blame, complain, defend. And that's what some people choose to do with mistakes, as opposed to like, hey, this is what happened. Let's get up and let's go on the next day. Let's try to
move forward.
Be in the solutions business. Don't bring me a problem without bringing a solution as well. And so I think that's a problem. That's a societal thing. I don't know if it's as much, one fan base, another fan base, one state versus another state. I think there's a little bit of generationality to it, but I think it's more of a societal thing. Like, talking about your problems only perpetuates the problems more, as opposed to ultimately trying to solve them and trying to figure out a solution and a path forward.
Yeah.
So those things are all right there. They're all right in front of them. And yes, some people would rather live in the negative. I'd like to think of myself.
That sounds terrible.
Well,
that sounds terrible.
Yeah. I'd like to think of myself as more of a positive dog, the positive dog. I'm going to feed the positive beast and try to figure that out. There's some people that choose to, and this is coming from a guy, Schlegel, that, AJ used to call Bitter Bob, Bitter Bob's
so true, man.
Bitter Bob's all right. I used to complain about a lot of things, and I guess that comes with age and maturity. But the more problems you have, like, the more solutions you need to provide. And complaining about stuff, nobody cares about it. And
exactly,
I tell, like, you don't want Ryan Day to go up there and complain. You want Will Howard to complain, or Cody Simon, or these, go to complain about this and about that and things that didn't go their way. Nobody cares. Well, probably 80% don't care. Maybe 90. Your family might care, but everybody else that cares, they're really probably just happy that it's going bad for you.
I think the problem is, Bob, that people view them moving forward as devaluing the game, because the era of college football is different. You have other games after the game. You know what I mean? And I think that's where I just don't understand that connection to people being able to move forward. And again, this is a fan thing. We're talking about it. We see it pop up on social all the time. I just wanted to make the point. I would much rather root for a team that has enough resolve to take ownership of what they did. We didn't put them in the best positions. We know the mistakes that we had. We got to go out there and execute better. And let's go put our best foot forward, play fast, hard, and violent versus Tennessee on the 21st. Like, I would much rather root for that team. Like, that gives me way more confidence than, like, man, I'm just still thinking about this Michigan game. And, we just, man, it was the coach's fault. No, it was, players didn't execute. No, they understand players didn't execute. Coaches didn't put them in the right position. You lost the biggest game of the year for the regular season, but now it's time to move on. Let's go win the college football playoff. Yeah. I just don't understand that. All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
Because you got to be able to pack it up and move on. Compartmentalize. A lot of people aren't good at compartmentalization. That's the reality of it.
Why?
Why? Because they've never been forced to, and they like to live their feelings across the entire spectrum of what they do. Studies will tell you that men are better at compartmentalizing things than women.
The men are heavily on Twitter.
Well, listen,
so I'm just
I said it's not everybody, but there's a reason why you watch a guy who, and I always look at, Brett Favre, and not that he's the bastion of hope and rightness in the world, but, his father died and he goes out and throws 4 touchdown passes on Monday Night Football and wins the game. And so people ask, like, how can you do that when, in the face of unbelievable tragedy? Because you know what? You pack it up, you put it away for a second, you go do something else. And you don't let it just permeate everything that's in your life and permeate the entirety of your existence. And so you have to make certain, like, hey, this applies to this. These feelings apply to this situation, but there's still this situation over here that we've got to go and have success. So you can mourn the loss, you can mourn the loss. I go like to Colonel Nathan Jessup, you can mourn Santiago's loss and curse the Marines. You have that luxury. The reality is that then you have to go and ultimately retriangulate what's going on. And hey, we have a game to play. a game to get ready for, a game to prepare, and don't compound one loss with another. And part of it is like having a short memory. You hear defensive backs all the time in football. You got the shortest memory. You're going to get beat. You got to go get play again. Like, you learn from what happened, but you can't be dwelling on, oh gosh, I just got beat. Maybe he's probably going to beat me again. No, put it away, put it aside, and be able to move forward. And speaking of moving forward, throw that up there about Aaron Nolan. Pat, I think that this was kind of expected. Will Howard will be gone. Devin Brown's going to be in the portal. Julian Sayin is most likely staying. Lincoln Keenholz, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays and competes as well. But Aaron Nolan, who's had kind of a bumpy time at Ohio State, had some personal issues that they dealt with last year, about 11 months ago coming out, some things that he was going through. And then I think he had to step away from the team for a moment. But has been a good soldier, has played, has rallied around. But I think you look, and the path is going to be tough here. You got Tavion St. Clair coming in from Bell Fountain. You probably have Julian Sayin and maybe Lincoln Keenholz. And maybe Lincoln, or Julian, whoever, if they don't win that job in the spring, maybe that person leaves as well. And so this isn't really surprising to see.
I know, man. And first off, I would say this. Aaron did a really nice job.
Yeah.
You're coming in there, a lot, really deep room, veteran room. You have 3 younger guys. You have 2 older guys. Hard to get those reps. Totally understand it from him. Has an opportunity to play lefty. Enjoyed his smile, right, when he was feeling really good. So, and this is that part of it, right? It's you want to root for their success because Aaron was great when he was here, man. So as a person and what he did and how he handled his business in the building. So you root for his success. That goes into the depth issue, Bob. So what you just mentioned, let's say you bring in St. Clair, you got Sayin, you got Lincoln, right? Do you go out and get a 4th? Because what happens through that competition in spring, and then all of a sudden now somebody can jump in the portal. Now I only got 2. Bumpy, right? Like that's where this entire thing is an issue because oh my gosh, man, it is so freaking. We got to, can I expand upon this?
Yeah, go
even
ahead.
more?
Yeah.
You know what? I want you to get, I'm going to say this and I want you to get into Saban later in the show, but here's the deal. You got to think about this, guys. We got to go in the portal and we're looking for tackles, right? We're looking for potentially a quarterback to come in. Simultaneously, you're making a run to be the best college football team in America. And that dynamic right there of the portal in the midst of that journey, how does that affect your culture? How does that affect your guys? How does that affect your guys going into the portal now? Fast forward that, then they stay. Here's my roster. Boom. I can leave. Either I get second in the job and I'm third and I'm like, oh no, I need more. And they don't want to give it to me. So I leave, or I didn't get it and I want to leave. Now I'm stuck because I only had 1 quarterback on the depth, or I have 2. Now we only have 3 in the building and they're all young guys. This roster management in college football is absolutely terrible. This transfer portal window in December is absolutely terrible. You had high school signing day, critical. You need that better right now. You want freshman kids in there. That's why the portal should be in the spring, because now you have portal, your signees. What's that conflict? Oh, what if I bring this guy in? Oh, I'm a flip. That happens, guys. This is freaking absolutely asinine that this is going on in the midst of the new college football playoff era. Again, it just goes to show there should be one time, and it should be in the spring.
All right.
Period.
Well, we got Bill Bender of the Sporting News on deck, who does a great job with us every single Tuesday. I want to tell you about this. Pension athletes' parents protect what matters most with export mouth guards trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection and patented use of carbon fibers, so they're 3D printed and fit snugly right to your grill. That means more protection, better performance, maximum comfort, and clear communication. So you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with their safety. Exportguards.com/Bobby. Save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. Bill Bender coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show. Please, if you're watching on FanDuel TV, we appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube or X, like, subscribe, leave, and drop your comments. We've got a bunch to get to today in Tailgate Talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. But now we're going to welcome in our guy, Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Bill, my man Schlegel is fired up today. He's juiced up and ready to go.
So juicy.
You're seeing all this, Bill. You cover with the Sporting News. You hear the coaches complaining about it. You know, the timeline here, we've got people opting out. And we've always wondered, would you have players opt out of the CFP when it was a 4-team playoff and ultimately not playing those games? Well, that was to go to the NFL. Now you have guys sliding in the portal to go all over the place, and some of them rightfully so because they need to find a spot. But they're going to be leaving their teams, and some of these guys are backups. Some of them play some. It's a very tenuous situation. The coaches are not unhappy about it at all. Oh, Bill, I think you're muted.
Well,
there we go.
My wife likes it when I stay on the mute button, probably sometimes, right? Sorry about that. Thanks for having me on. I was saying the Bo Pribula situation really brought this to the forefront. I understand where he's coming from. He has to find a place to play, but the team dynamic and these guys getting ready for the college football playoff, I think there's got to be some wiggle room. I like what Devin Brown's doing. He's in the portal, fine, but he's also part of this team, part of this run in case there were an injury to happen. I think it shows that we need to absolutely fix the college football calendar everywhere. Recruiting, signing day, portal, when to start the season. Guys, Ohio State hasn't played like for 3 weeks. It feels, and you know how that this time of year goes, it feels like it's been forever. They need to push the playoff up, I think, and the regular season up. Maybe if we even lop off a regular season game to get there, because I could you imagine the NFL playoffs if they started them and then the Bengals, well, maybe a bad example this year, even though I hope they get in, had to wait 3 weeks to play a wild card game. I couldn't see it.
That's you hit the nail on the head. It's you get a bye because you've done the job of winning the division, right? Of being the top 2 seeds. And then that's why it matters. They're right into it. So what does that mean though, Bill? That means you eliminate the conference championship games in order to do so, or you got to play right after, or at least 2 weeks after. But again, now we're still in that timeline. So to me, it's that. Here's my question for you, because you're in the weeds of this, right? You're looking through all of this stuff. Okay, you brought up Devin Brown. You like what he's doing. Devin Brown signs with the team. Proof David Copperfield, I'm going to Northwestern. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay? He gets hurt in the bowl game. He gets hurt in bowl prep. Do they honor that? Meaning Northwestern, right? So again, now there's risk reward. I want to finish the season, and we commend guys for that. We want guys for that. People talk trash about people that don't. But then that school's like, I want you. Here's your NIL deal. Something happens, right? Now he's out. Does Northwestern have to honor that contract?
Well, and that calls the need to, maybe we just need to have 2-year contracts when a player starts college football to begin with. That way they are protected on the roster through those 2 years. And then if they start looking somewhere else, we get into that. Bobby said something to me yesterday on Morning Juice that is registered, is that the other part of this is it's still college. They still have semesters, every school, unless we have every Power 4 school agree on the same semester for their school. And we know there's zero chance of that happen. That's why this is not a perfect comparison to the NFL. I tried to draw the analogy to, as you guys know, big Green Bay fan, if Malik Willis on the day the playoff starts, before the wild card round, said, hey, you know what? I'm going into free agency, and Jordan Love got hurt, it would obviously impact the Packers run. And I think that's why Bo Pribula isn't just a transfer either. He played a lot.
Yes,
he played in every game. He was part of this run package that they did with him. So that's a significant transfer. That is a big deal to me that he is leaving before the college football playoff game against SMU.
You know, there's before we get into some of the games and everything coming up this weekend, there's been a lot of news. You know, some of these coaches, I think we saw it with Mike Gundy. We saw it down at LSU with Brian Kelly. We just most recently saw with Mike Norvell. To some degree or another, some of these guys are taking pay cuts. The pay cut that they're taking, a lot of those dollars have been reallocated towards the NIL, because now they'll be able to pay guys directly out of the school marketing budget with some of those dollars that are ultimately coming in. Is this something you think we see more of, and maybe coaching salaries begin to restrict?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because you want to pay for the players. You know, that's where this game is headed. You're going to want to put your money toward the roster at this point. I don't think the facilities are going to need too much more, especially at the superpowers. You know, Ohio State, I've walked through those. The facilities, the weight room, all of those things are amazing. You know what I mean? Like, for most places, you have, you know, and you continue to build those kind of things. But I think the money will go to the players, and the money won't go to the coaches. It won't go to the stadium, you know, modernizing some of the stadiums. I know there's been some complaints about that with Ohio Stadium and Beaver Stadium and these Big Ten stadiums. That I'm more of an old school guy. I can deal with all that. It's fine. But yeah, I do think at the end of the day, you're going to want to pay for your roster. And that's why the buyouts, the coaching salaries, those are going to change over the next couple of years. That's definitely going to be a side effect.
When do we get a college football playoff or a college football players association? And here I'm going to mention this about I've been all over the country, everybody, right? I have a product that I patented. We're in 125 Division I colleges. I've seen them all. You know, Ohio State is very good where we are, but it is not a Georgia or the Florida, right? It's close, but there's some other aesthetic things that they need to improve upon. I know there's plans in the making, but again, this juggernaut that is Ohio State, people forget that we have 36 sports, that you also have some of that money, obviously, with football and the basketball being able to ones that get the revenue share of that. You still have to keep up with the Joneses, but to your point, you got to have the Jimmies and Joes. And I think people are realizing that, coaches realizing that. What do you think about the buyouts in this? Because that's very different than in the NFL. And these contracts in college are significantly longer than that in the NFL. How do you see those contracts? We just saw Marcus get a big contract. I didn't see any of that money going to that fund. You know, maybe now when people select schools, it's like we look at Florida State and Norvell drops $4.5 million. Hopefully he can write that off, charge it to winning, but also on his taxes. But like, how is that going to look in the landscape of who has the biggest money to be able to go do those things? Like, how is that going to be judged in the future?
Well, I think the buyouts will go down because you can't make it makes it that much harder to fire a coach, number one.
Yeah.
You saw in this cycle, we've only had among the Power 4 schools 5 coaching changes now, with Dave Clawson stepping down at Wake Forest, where he's going to go into an advisory role. That is an extremely low number. I mean, there's been a lot in the group of 5, and I think it's easier to change coaches at that level because of the money involved and everything that comes with that and the buyouts. But for a power conference school, you're going to have to hire the right coach and fire at the right time. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be stuck with the next coach, a large contract, all of those things. I actually like what Florida State did with Mike Norvell. It's a little bit performance-based now. But at the same time, look what Florida did with Billy Napier. All September, I wrote how many stories about here's what Florida's going to do when they fire Billy Napier. And they just showed that little bit of patience, and they light it up in November. And look, that program's probably going to be, I bet, you know what? I bet you Florida's ranked in the top 25 in all those way too early top 25s that us writers like to do here in a few weeks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they finished the season pretty impressive, hot. You know, they beat an Ole Miss team, beat Florida State, did what they needed to do, and I think Billy saved his job because of that. The team stayed with him, and he kept the locker room. Marcus Freeman's done a pretty tremendous job up at Notre Dame, Bill, and it's interesting if you juxtapose the public sentiment around Marcus Freeman weeks 2 through 4 in the college football season and where we're at now with let's just say Kalen DeBoer down in Alabama with where they were after beating Georgia and then where they are now. Like the emotional roller coaster that is this college football coaching train is remarkable. And Marcus is rewarded with a new contract. And so kind of your thoughts on that in his – is it necessary? I mean, they came out before the playoff. It felt like he maybe needed to win a game to get this done. And are you surprised they did it with Jack Schwarbrick before they ultimately played the game on Friday?
And I know you guys know Marcus way better than I ever could with your experiences with him. But I'll tell you from an outsider's view, it's not about the 30-9 record or the 7-2 record against ranked teams the last 2 years, which are very impressive. I was talking to Joe Theismann about him last week, and Joe said he's a player's coach, and that the term player's coach gets misconstrued.
Mm-hmm.
When you think player's coach, you think, oh, I just let my players do whatever they want and they love me. No, he knows how to. That would not work. That philosophy does not work, by the way. He knows how to relate to his players and communicate with his players, and I know there's been some comparisons to Jim Tressel, and you see him on the sideline with that even kind of keel demeanor, but where he'll pop up and get his team fired up like a linebacker would. And I think he has done a fantastic job there. I love watching him coach. I think they're poised to make a run in this playoff, and I think they're going to win this week and perhaps push Georgia in the second round. And I couldn't be happier for him. I had a phone conversation with him last year. I think he was driving to an event or something, and he sometimes coaches sound like not annoyed, but they're doing this out of an obligation. It was a real honest conversation, a lot of fun talking to him. And you remember that as a reporter. It sticks with you for a few years when you talk to a coach like that, and you can tell he's very relatable.
Relatable, authentic. I think that when you brought up like the coaches and the carousel, it's also a shift in fan bases too, in mindset, because it has to take on more of a NFL approach with eventually potentially going to all conference games. Even if you eliminate a conference championship game to then get to the CFP, you're going to have some attrition. You're going to have some losses. But the biggest thing that we saw with even the whole Fire Ryan Day crowd is this portal, right? Because if you go make a move, that impacts your current roster. It impacts your signing roster, right? Your draft class. Let's put it in NFL terms. It impacts your draft class. It impacts your current roster. It impacts the free agents, aka the portal that you could potentially bring in, all of which could be lost again in the second portal, along with all of your staff, because normally we see in college football, it's a clean sweep of everybody. When Urban came in, only 4 people of everybody were retained, right? So that is a lot that's on the table when you're making these things. So you better hire the right guy with the right terms, make it performance-based. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I think, at places like Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame and Penn State, those major programs that if you were looking at how those schools performed this year, I mean, obviously Notre Dame, Penn State, and Ohio State made the college football playoff. That's good. I think one thing I know reporters are going to do it, but I don't know if you guys will. We'll start judging coaches based on the playoff more than the regular season. I always make the comparison to, say you're a coach on the hot seat in men's basketball, and then all of a sudden you make a Sweet 16 run. They say that's the one that saves your job. I'm not suggesting Ryan Day has to do that this year, but other coaches in the future, that could happen, like a James Franklin or a Lane Kiffin. Your job's in jeopardy, but hey, he got him to the semifinals, so he's fine. This college football playoff is going to factor into that a lot in terms of coaches and year-by-year performances. You'll put those a semifinal in the college football playoff will be a lot like those Sweet 16 and Elite 8 appearances in basketball.
All right, we're going to put a quick pin in it. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back with more Bill Bender, some Heisman talk, CFP talk. Did they get it right? Has anything changed? What are his thoughts? Here coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back in the show. Still here with our guy, Bill Bender, the Sporting News. Go check out all the great stuff he does. Fantastic work over there. We'll follow on X at Bill Bender 92. Heisman Trophy comes out. Travis Hunter wins it. Jenny second. They get it right.
Yeah, I think so. It was tough, though. I mean, I voted on that, and Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty, and spent a lot of time on it. It really is tough because I think running backs just get kind of jobbed in the whole process because, in the 70s, the running backs won it every year. You can look, it's like the golden age of running back, and Ashton Genty fits that kind of mold with what he was able to accomplish at Boise State. But at the end of the day, Travis Hunter, the two-way aspect, the making plays all the time, as the All-American teams come out, and Sporting News has one coming out tomorrow, I can tell you two things about it, guys. One, it is so stressful to put together. You have to make some tough calls. And I'm one of those guys put together a couple high school all district teams back in the day. You want more kids on the team. Travis Hunter could be your receiver. He could be your corner. He could be your all-purpose player. I think he'll end up being a unanimous All-American in some fashion. And what he did this year was really incredible.
So I want to follow up on that. I mean, because Sporting News, if I'm not mistaken, Bill, you guys are one of the 5 publications that play into the consensus, the unanimous All-American. I got a Heisman vote a couple years ago. I try to take that very seriously. I mean, understanding that's life-changing for some of these guys when you're awarded to that team, like what that does for you, and you've given some of these awards. How difficult is that when you sit there and try to parcel that out, and you're trying to pick spots, and it's 2 candidates that are probably equally as qualified as you're going to find?
I've done the Sporting News All-American team for 10 years, and I always compare it to like playing cards, where you never talk about it's from rounders, right? You never talk about like all those guys you got right. You just know in the back of your mind over the years, oh man, I got that one wrong. I missed that one. That guy went on to a great career. You feel bad about it. And you talk to again, though, what gives me peace of mind is when you put that guy on there that makes the All-American team that maybe wasn't on the other 4. I always tell people we don't have to do what everybody else does. We just have to do it what we think is right and what we think is fair. And that's served us well over at Sporting News. Our All-American team has been one of the 5 since the 1930s. And you mentioned that about the Heisman, Bobby. Sometimes I think before I fill out the ballot, I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, it's really cool. So you want to get it right. You want to put a lot of passion in it. I can give you a little spoiler. There are a couple Buckeyes on our team. I think one's pretty obvious. He plays safety. And then, a couple offensive linemen that have did a really nice job this year. But to talk to the Ohio State people and talk to Jerry through that and the process that we do, it's hard. It's difficult. I always take a big, deep breath when it's over.
I want to get into this Tennessee game because we only got a couple more minutes with you. Really good matchup. Tennessee likes to run the football. They have a really good defense. They have some areas where they struggle. They love the big play. Freshman quarterback coming into the shoe. How do you see this game playing out Saturday night under the lights in the shoe on the banks of the Olentangy?
Well, you were fired up earlier, and with good reason. I want to see how Ohio State comes out. Do they come out fired up? What's the mood of that stadium? The mood of that stadium should be play free. This is free football. That's what my old high school coach, Jack Hayden, he coaches at Denison now. I heard him say that to his players a couple years ago before a playoff run. It's free football. Go play. Go play free. Go have fun. And I think the running the football is going to be so key for both sides. Tennessee, if they can get Dylan Sampson going early, they'll be in good shape. For Ohio State, tempo, use those receivers, throw the ball down the field. The one guy that Tennessee has that worries me is Dante Thornton, averaging over 25 yards per catch. Nico Iamaleava, we'll see how a California kid does in the weather. They are going to take some shots with Thornton down the field. Ohio State has to be ready for those.
You think weather plays into a factor at all with this one?
Of course. I do. You can't simulate it. Now, it's cold in Tennessee. I understand that. I think weather will be more of a factor in that Notre Dame game. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of snow. Happy Valley with Texas kids coming up there. Sorry, Schlegs. I think those SMU guys, I don't know if you get snow like we do.
No, hell
there.
no, man. We get ice. They shut down the highways, man.
Yeah, exactly. And then, just it sounds like it's going to be a clear, cool 20-degree evening. I'm so excited and curious to see what that environment's going to be like and, to be in the press box for that. And how long have we said it, guys? SEC teams finally coming up here in December. I think since I was in high school, I've heard that statement or variations of that statement 100 times. I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, we appreciate the time today. Thank you for spending some of it with us. Enjoy the holidays, and hopefully we got a great weekend ahead.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
See you, buddy.
He is Bill Bender, the Sporting News. Give him a follow on X at Bill Bender92. Does a great job. Coming up next, got our headlines. There's some big ones, maybe some news along the offensive line as well. Keep you posted on that when we come back. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back in. We've got our headlines now. And Schlegs, there's a lot of talk about this offensive line, who's going to play, what it's going to look like. And we can throw this up here from Spencer Holbrook from at Letterman Row. Ryan Day's comments on that. Second-year interior offensive lineman Luke Montgomery expected to have a big role Saturday night against Tennessee. I said after assessing last game, we feel like Luke deserves a shot. So curious to see, Schlegs, what he's going to look like in there. That probably means you're going to keep Carson Hinsman at center and most likely play Luke Montgomery guard. Will be a rotational thing. I'm not sure, but it's positive to see them kind of exploring all the options.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at that, I'm probably guessing Luke Montgomery, right guard, Carson, and then Austin. That's how I kind of look at it in the middle. And, we'll see what happens. And you wish there was live bullets, but hey, guys, you're at Ohio State. That's on Coach Fry to make sure that these guys have been developed, that he's obviously been practicing consistently. They feel that he deserves an opportunity. Can't wait to watch it happen, man. Live bullets against one of the best defenses in the country in the front seven. Let's go. Buckle up, Buttercup. Here we go, Buckeyes.
How difficult is that, Schlegs, to come in here? Obviously, he's had this whole week to prepare, probably some of last week, so it's not like a straight drop in, but it's not like a bowl game either because you don't have, a full slate to get ready, probably just two to be a first-time starter in a big game situation like this.
It's a little bit different in the guard position versus the tackle position, right? We saw the first game that Donnie, never playing that position, had to go out and gave up a couple sacks and then has really settled in nicely. I think that guard center combo, because you still have – you also got to remember you got Josh Fryer out there on the outside, a senior that's been there and done that. The offensive line is all about communication. But then it's also the coordinators having confidence in setting them up for success. Like, what does that look like? Are we going to see just consistently running zone, or are we going to see some gap schemes where you can actually come off the ball and try to get to the second level? I suspect we'll see more of that going to this game because that bodes better for a younger player just knowing where I got to go once you set the mic up front.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how that moves. I know a lot of Buckeye fans are kind of locked in to see that. Also, some stuff, updates with the ticket situation in the shoe. Now, there was some talk last week about one of the access codes being leaked out before, and Tennessee Volunteer fans like scooping up all of these tickets. I talked and did some research out there, and I had heard that was only a 10,000 seat allotment, and there was only a 10,000 seat allotment, and there was probably only about 700 of those tickets went to Tennessee fans. However, if we look at this update, Pat, you can throw that up there from Ben Koo. It says per SeatGeek, 42% of the tickets resold on the platform have gone to Tennessee residents. Professional resellers are holding huge amounts of tickets as prices are quickly falling. And so I was talking to some people. I thought it might be 80-20. There's some people saying 70-30. I don't think it'll be any more than 70-30. I think 80-20 is probably closer to it, but we'll have to ultimately see where this breaks. But it's a huge advantage to have a home game. I'm hoping it continues to be a huge advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want. I mean, it's the first ever college football playoff game in December in the shoe. You're one of the only 4 to be able to do it. You would love for it to be a competitive advantage. But guess what? As a player, you don't worry about it. You live where your feet are. You got to control what you can control. And that's to go out there and execute the game plan, period.
Absolutely. So that's pretty good stuff right there, trying to figure it out. And then lastly, we've got some news coming out. Our guy Jay Book, who's out in Arizona, but there's some news about Tennessee practicing today, and they're talking about their elite offensive tackle that they just signed from high school. But you're watching them warm up, and they're warming up inside, which is kind of surprising to me. I think Ohio State's been outside most of last week. I think you'll be outside most of this week. Now, the problem today in Columbus, Ohio, it's 50 degrees. So I don't know if going outside is really going to prepare you for it. I think it's supposed to get significantly colder tomorrow and then Thursday. So I'm just surprised that you would go inside as opposed to try to acclimating.
I don't know the weather going on right now in Nashville. Sometimes teams will do that because it might be like severely windy. Normally, and this is how practices go. You dynamic warm up, you go out there, you go to punt, okay, you kick field goal, you're into Indy, and then you got inside drill, and then you go in. Like that's kind of how it is, especially with inclement weather and you can't work on the skill work that you need to do offensively. Like that's normally how it's broken down. But they must feel that, hey, man, let's go freaking indoors, right? Ohio State has been outside. I still don't think the weather's going to have a huge impact. I think it would if it was cold and rainy. Now that game's going to be between the tackle running the football type game. So, but with this, like I'm anxious to see what transpires in this, but I don't know why they'd be indoors right now. Unless
like you said, maybe it's really windy. All right, coming up next, we got some tailgate talk, Schlegs, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Got some great comments from the tweet we put out there yesterday. We'll talk about that here coming up next.
Building a home for the people who are worth it. Stepping out, throwing in a line, and dropping the tailgate for a picnic. And finding far-off campsites with the people you're closest to. Upgrade your truck, Jeep, or Bronco with over 1 million parts and accessories. And bring your truck to life. Real Truck.
All right, Schlegs, we got our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. So go to realtruck.com if you want to bring your truck, Jeep, Bronco to life. All you got to do, go to realtruck.com. They've got accessories for the interior, the exterior that are going to look tremendous. I've got cover for my truck. I've got brush guards, bumper for my Jeep. I've got a top for it as well. All kinds of things that are all there. They're all going to be there for you, locked in for Christmas. And best part is they've got a Christmas present for you. If you go to realtruck.com, spend $100 upon checkout, use promo code Bobby. They're going to send you that free hat that Schlegs is pitching you right there. So go to realtruck.com. Make sure to check it out. Spend $100, which is easy to do because there's so much great stuff. You get the free hat. All right, a couple of questions coming at you yesterday, Schlegs. From this I put out there, one coming from Fuqua Sports. If you can find that, Pat, and throw that up there. And it's a pretty simple one, Schlegs, because people get concerned about you. There's a lot of people wondering.
Oh, I like that.
Well, I mean, the question is, does Schlegs have CTE? So I thought I'd ask you because you seem like the guy to answer the question.
Well, I responded to him And I think my response kind of went like this. It was like, I was like, what are we talking about? I don't know. You know, it's like, I can barely remember. I forget what I actually texted him.
I have it right here.
All right, go ahead. Why don't you repeat it?
Hopefully Pat can throw this up here. It says, maybe, I don't know. What were we tweeting about? Go Bucks.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect sentiment. No, I don't. But could I? Maybe. I don't know. Charge it to winning. I'd like, denting people's face masks for a little. So great. So there's a phone call. What is that? Yeah. Nope. No CTE. Thank you.
Well, there you go. CTE free, Schlegs. That's the way to be. This one coming from Chad. Would you want to play for Ryan Day or Urban Meyer?
Great question. Not going to answer that, bro. Both different, similar. I mean, I've had the privilege, man. I'm a football Hall of Famer and Fisher DeBerry, Jim Tressel, coach for Urban. Briefly worked with Ryan this year. Just know him. Just wanted to help out the program. All great in their own right. They all do things a little different. In this day and age of college football, I do believe in what Ryan's doing and why he was able to get so many guys to stay, the culture that he's built. I'm with you guys as a fans, and he knows the significance of that game. So, I trust him, right? And until all things go to where I don't, right, I'm going to keep riding with him.
Ride or die. I like it. Probably prefer to play for Ryan. He's a little more like Tress. Urban, a little bit different. You coach for both of them, Schlegs. So you would have as much insight into any of that as anyone, and how they operate. Plus, I played for, I guess Fick was there for Urban for a while, so I could play for him early Urban. I would always find it interesting to play for James, which is kind of like Fick 2.0 at the linebacker position, to see how that ultimately works as well. And last minute, Schlegs, I'm going to throw this at you. We might get into this a little bit later. Just give me your knee-jerk for the first 4 playoff games. Who wins them? Ooh. No explanation. Just tell me who.
Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame.
All right. All favorites. There you go. That's Tailgate Talk, brought to you by Real Truck Today. Coming up next, we'll wrap up the program with our parting thoughts here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Hey, everybody, listen, Big Play Sports Network has an unbelievable opportunity for you. They are going to be giving away a pair of tickets. That's right, 2 tickets to the first college football playoff game ever in the shoe. It's Saturday night. It's 8 o'clock. It's Ohio State hosting Tennessee. All you got to do, go check out the Big Play Sports Network app on Instagram. The link is in the bio. Register there to win. Make sure you're checking out all of our great shows and all of our great content this week to get you ready for the game.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, welcome as we close up the show here. It's like someone responded in the comments during the tweet on, or the show on Twitter, that Angry F-Bomb Schlegs is the best version of Schlegs. So,
hey, you know what? That came off of 505 squats for 6 sets of 3 today. Listening to Angels and Insects, swooping right in here with my Meat Missile t-shirt. I did change my t-shirt. I'll wrap it up with this. That was a great question about Urban and Ryan. And I would say, in today's college football, it's more about the relationship with your to-be position coach than it is with the head coach, because it's about who is going to develop me the most, who's going to believe in me to pound the table for me if I do the things that I need to do to get playing time and to develop for potentially an opportunity to play in the NFL. The culture matters. That's the head football coach that permeates through his assistants. But it's that relationship with that position coach that probably in the program matters the most.
I love it, Schlegs. Stay locked in. We'll get you ready for the game. 12:30 tomorrow. Mr. Hawk will be with us. Let's get ready to rock here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.